I'm Diana Wentworth, co-founder of the Inside Edge Foundation for Education. Since 1985, the Inside Edge has been a prestigious venue for all kinds of thought leaders and speakers, and we've hosted over 1,500 of the world's most cutting-edge speakers, most life-enhancing speakers. And now we're really excited that we're making available videos of many of our very best speakers to everyone on our YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel to get notice of our new videos that are being released weekly this year. And be sure to check out our website at insideedge.org for any kind of live events or workshops that we're offering. We continue to be a very vibrant community that offers all kinds of experiential events and encourages powerful connection and mutual empowerment. So we always love having new guests. We hope you'll join us. Thank you.
Have so many guests with us today, and we've planned a really wonderful time for you, including helping us to get the most out of this time together. We are going to start with a centering meditation, which we do for all of our speaker forums. So the reason we do this is it helps us to be the most open, the most receptive, the most alert and present, so that we can absorb all the good, juicy stuff that's coming soon. So I invite you now to join me in really settling in. Close your eyes, perhaps, adjust your body. Take some nice cleansing breaths. And just bring your attention to your heart center. One of the best ways to really expand and open our heart and connect our coherence of our heart and our mind is to start with gratitude. All those things that we have to be so grateful for. We are truly blessed. And so for the next couple of minutes, I'm inviting you, as you breathe and relax and open, to just listen to this beautiful song in the background to help you to really come fully present and open-hearted and enjoy this morning. Perhaps even set an intention for yourself that's particularly special and personal. So all that in the next couple of minutes of music. And now bring yourself back to opening your eyes and connecting with everyone in this beautiful circle, this virtual circle from all over the world. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful morning.
Thank you, Robin. That was wonderful. And now I'm so excited to be introducing our speakers today. Bruce Lipton, PhD, a pioneer in the new biology, is an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit. A cell biologist by training, Bruce was on the faculty of the University of Washington School of Medicine and later performed groundbreaking stem cell research at Stanford University School of Medicine. He is the best-selling author of The Biology of Belief, The Honeymoon Effect, and co-author with Steve Bhaerman of Spontaneous Evolution. Bruce received the 2009 prestigious Goi Peace Award in Japan in honor of his scientific contribution to world harmony. Steve Bhaerman is an internationally known author, humorist, and workshop leader. For 35 years, he has written and performed as Swami Beyondananda, the cosmic comic. Swami's comedy has been described both as comedy described as disguised as wisdom and wisdom disguised as comedy. Marianne Williamson has called him the Mark Twain of our generation. On the serious side, Steve has co-authored Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future, and A Way to Get There from Here with cellular biologist Bruce Lipton. Steve's new podcast, Front and Center, Writing Our New Story Together, will be launching later this month. So please begin, Bruce and Steve.
Well, thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure to be part of the Inside Edge once again. These are people who clearly you're curious, you're awakening, and I'm happy to be here with Bruce today. So I'm going to start by offering a bit of background and asking Bruce some questions. So when we wrote Spontaneous Evolution 12 years ago, we thought of spontaneous evolution as a noun in the future. And now we're seeing it's a verb in the present. It's something that's pushing us to make the changes. And as we look around us at the current world, new word, situation, the situation out there is dire. On one hand, we have, Bruce will talk to you a little bit about, we're facing the 6th great extinction here. And it seems like the antidote is conscious evolution. Meanwhile, we are at a point where it seems like our political system is about to blow up. We're so polarized. We're so filled with oppositional thinking and fear. And we want to go back in history a little bit to see how that came about. And as we answer 3 questions in this period of time, we have what so what, now what? Okay, so for the what so part of the program, Bruce, I want to ask you a composite question. First of all, talk a little bit about the extinction event that we seem to be participating in, and then also talk about the 2 competing narratives, scientific materialism and patriarchal religion, that are duking it out for dominance right now, neither of which has the full story.
Thank you, Steve. And I just want to also thank our audience out there. And besides the leading edge people who organize, all of those in the audience actually represent, in my perception, what we would call cultural creatives. And cultural creatives are people who see there's a problem here, but are not looking inside the box for the answers because they're not in there. So all of you out here are really saying, look, there's other answers possible. And Steve and I are so happy to be here with that, because we have some wonderful, wonderful scientific news about the craziness that we're experiencing. So very simply, if you following the news or surfing the web, or even just look outside your window, the planet is in chaos. There's so many different things. We have racial strife, religious strife, political upheaval, economic clashing, all kinds of things. And every one of those is actually like a tree. And while we focus on each tree and go, oh, that's a problem, that's a problem, I say, no, pull back. Because when you pull back, you see all the trees represent one forest. And as Steve mentioned very critically, and that is this, we are facing what is called a mass extinction. 5 times in the history of this planet, life was thriving, some cataclysmic event happened, and up to 90% of life got wiped out, and then evolution started all over again. So 5 times in history. The last time was 66 million years ago. A comet hit near the Yucatan Peninsula, upended the entire web of life on the planet. That's when all the dinosaurs were here. And that's when all the dinosaurs disappeared, because the web of life collapsed and they could not sustain themselves anymore. Well, the most important thing that Steve brought up is we're now in the 6th mass extinction. We're losing species of organisms faster than in some of the previous 5 mass extinctions. But here's the most critical point. It's human behavior that is undermining the web of life. I go, so why is it relevant? Well, to deal with what our issues are, we don't have to look out in space and look for some other place. We are the problem. And the issue is that human behavior has pillaged the nature. We've upended the web of life, thinking that we can dominate and control nature, which is actually the original mission statement of science, to dominate and control nature. I go, how's that working out as we are now in a mass extinction? I go, not very well. So the problem is this: human behavior has to change, and it has to change very quickly, because the evolution we're talking about, and we're in process right now, is an evolution that is not 1,000 years in the future. It's an evolution that's happening within the next couple of decades, where human civilization is totally compromised. And the significance about that is that we have a very short time to make a change on our behavior. And this is the part that Steve brought up very quickly, and says this: ever since Isaac Newton, we've come to own that the universe has 2 different realms: the physical realm, the material realm, and an invisible energy realm. And in conventional science, we ignore the invisible energy realm and focus on physical things. Yeah, a human body has a human mechanism and has genes to control all that. And all of that control is inside the machine. In contrast, those that were proposing that the invisible realm is the more relevant one, and those are the religious organizations, try to take us away from the material planet and try to tell us, look, this is just a place to visit on your way to heaven. And if you do a good job here, you get a ticket, you can go to heaven. If you don't do a good job, you don't get there. Okay, so what was the point? And the point is very simply this, is that the religious group downs the material realm and saying that's the thing that's keeping you from going to heaven. You're focused on that. So let go of the material realm. Let's go to the spiritual realm. The science group has a complete opposite point of view. Says the spiritual realm is not really relevant. It's the material realm that's relevant. And now I say, wow, now we have polarities. Are we into the spiritual realm or are we into the material realm? Well, we started off in the spiritual realm. Actually, we started off in balance. The native indigenous people on this planet saw that everything that was made out of matter was also spirit. A blade of grass is matter, but a blade of grass is spirit. A tree is matter, a tree is spirit. A deer, matter, but a deer has a spirit. And so they combine both worlds, spiritual and material, into one. But then shortly after that, religion came in. We started with polytheism, and then we went to monotheism. And what did we do in each one of those is we sort of said, keep away from that material realm. Let's go into the spiritual realm. That's where all of our life is going toward, the spiritual realm. And then we damned the material realm. And that's when the church took over civilization. In fact, that's what happened. And then there was a return to materiality when the Protestants came and challenged the church, because the Protestants said, well, having matter isn't such a bad thing, because if God likes you, you'll get matter. So then all of a sudden matter started to take on a different attitude. And we hit balance again, where matter and spirit came into total balance in 1776. And I go, what was that? And of course it was the founding of the United States. I go, what was the nature of it? The United States was founded by a group of people who were called deists. And I go, what are deists? They were the ones, just like the Native Americans. The deists were the ones that saw there's a physical realm and an energy realm, and they're one and the same. And if you study the physical realm, you'll learn about the spiritual realm. Just a list of deists: Washington, Franklin, Jefferson, John Adams, Thomas Paine, founding fathers. So the US was built on balance. But then after Darwinian theory came in, we lost the idea of an energy realm and said, oh my goodness, everything's physical and it has to do with heredity. And then we found out the genes. And then all of a sudden the whole science went from the spiritual realm into, this is a physical mechanism and it's controlled by genes. There's no spirituality, and live and enjoy. Okay. And I go, but the challenges between those two have been maintained. So first it was really the religious organizations that were running civilization. But then after the Darwinian period, the material people came in and started running it. And guess what? The material people have failed, because we got a health crisis all over the planet, and we've never spent more money on health than any time in the history of the planet, and we are the unhealthiest. Something's wrong. So the result is simply this. We're coming back to loggerheads, because the religious people said, those material people screwed up. And the material people said, no, we're not going back. And today's world is a clash. We're polarizing. And I go, why is it relevant? Because evolution is based on cooperation. It's not based on polarization. We're going into anti-evolution at this moment. So very quickly, Steve, I'm sorry to talk very long, but make it very quick. And it goes like this. There's a morphogenesis, a transformation, a metamorphosis, where a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. I go, we can relate that to today's world very simply. And I go, a caterpillar is one of the most voracious organisms on the planet. Put it on a plant, it will eat every damn leaf off of the planet, off the plant.
And the planet.
Then what? And then I go, once it really devours the environment that it's in, it goes into a cocoon. And I go, what's happening? I said, well, it's a process where the caterpillar comes in and the butterfly comes out. I go, how does that happen? And I go, a caterpillar is made out of millions of cells. Cells are like miniature people. When the caterpillar was working and living, all the cells were employed, the muscle cells, the digestive cells, all the cells were working. But when this caterpillar stopped eating, no more work. Uh-oh, cells lost their jobs. And I said, what did they do? They went in cocoon. I said, what happened? The civilization of cells in the caterpillar started to fall apart. And you go, oh, it's chaos. And I go, well, it is, because chaos means there's a plan. There's a falling apart. But as the cells were falling apart, a new group of cells were moving in a new direction. The body of the caterpillar was coming down, but the cells were now building a new body called the butterfly. Relevance, there's a chaos period as the caterpillar, one stage of civilization that we're in right now, is metamorphosing into a butterfly, the lightest touch organism on the planet. And I go, we're in that transformation. Civilization is being called upon to say, look, you've been destroying the planet, you've eaten up everything, and now it's time for you to transform into a lighter touch because your future is now compromised. And I say, what happens? Civilization, like a caterpillar, is falling apart. All of the people are seeing that things don't work anymore the way they used to. We're moving into a new future. And if we understand this new future with cooperation, we can come outside with a new civilization, which is forming right now. And all of you people out there are part of this new civilization. You're the cultural creatives, the cells coming together to create a sustainable world. And this is what Steve and I have been starting our premise on and then working on. And I'd like to turn it over to Steve because, well, I can talk about the biological context of an evolution genetically and cell biology and all that stuff. There's a social human issue here. And my brother, Steve, that's his forte. He's the strong guy there. So I'm going to let go of some biology and we're going to go right into sociology, economics, and all that stuff that my brother Steve is into.
Thank you so much. And by the way, I was a political science major, although I never got quite far enough in the field to actually dissect the politician. Never quite got there. But I do have some insights about this. You know, a mantra that came to me about a year ago about the current conditions. We're all in the same boat. The Titanic is sinking, and the lifeboat is the love boat. And that's pretty much where we are. That one of the things that's been missing in this pendulum swing to the materiality, to the world of money, matter, and the machine, is that there's been a vacuum left at the center of our culture. You know, back in the old days, you know, in ancient villages, there was always a fire burning in the center of the village that was supposed to represent spirit being alive in that place. But because we have become such a secular materialist culture, that's missing. We have a missing sane and sacred center. And so consequently, in that vacuum, because human nature abhors a moral vacuum, in that vacuum, we've seen the power of money take hold. And even though the vast majority of people on the planet, the 90% of us who are not sociopaths, would prefer to live by the golden rule instead of the rule of gold, we've been pulled into this because all of the machinery of society is heading toward this what's called singularity. And singularity, for those who don't know, it's the idea that we're all in the process of becoming one machine. That what we used to call human will essentially we'll all be downloaded into a computer, will be perfect, et cetera, and we won't have to worry about these pesky human qualities that we've had. And it may sound like a joke, but if you look up singularity, Ray Kurzweil, et cetera, there is an entire movement to actually do this. And right now, the political conflict that we're facing, that's exemplified by the COVID crisis, but it's really, as Bruce said, everywhere, is that on one end, we have people who have total faith in technology, that technology is a savior that's going to come down and save us. And, you know, for those people, if they heard a vaccine a day keeps the doctor away, they would take a vaccine every day. On the other end, we have those people who are more traditionalist and more aware of what's being lost as we lose our human freedom through forced medical procedures and so on. And those people are concerned that Monsanto and Bill Gates want to make all of humanity Roundup ready, and they're just not ready to be rounded up. So we have an entire polarization, two views with that may essentially be two separate universes for all we know. So the question is, how do we actually bring some kind of formulation together? What is the sane and sacred center that we can hope to achieve? So as we look at what's going on right now, it's very, very important that we look at things from the higher perspective, as Bruce had suggested, of where evolution might be taking us, which is essentially the realization that we're all cells in this body called humanity. And so much of our behavior that we've seen, warfare, the unnecessary and toxic forms of competition, they're actually forms of autoimmune dysfunction, and the body cannot stand autoimmune dysfunction where healthy cells are destroyed by other healthy cells. So as we're in this situation, what do we do? How do we actually begin to emerge from this chrysalis and feed those imaginal cells that are becoming the butterfly? So in spontaneous evolution, I actually went back and looked at this, what we wrote. We were talking about how every paradigm has its worldview. And of course, the scientific material paradigm is that only the material world is real. And so we're actually, in the book, we talk about the 4 myth perceptions of the apocalypse, which are things that science has actually disproved, but we are still holding on to those as religious beliefs of scientism. And one of those has to do with the fact that only the material world is real. And Albert Einstein, of all people, said that the field is the sole governing agency over the particle. And if we look at most of what medicine is doing, even the whole idea of the only way to deal with this pandemic is through vaccinations, is through all of these external controls, we're missing the boat, because much of who we really are has to do with this invisible domain. Much of what medicine has become is essentially trying to move the particles along on the field, when actually we need to actually activate the field. So Bruce, for a little bit, talk to us about the particles and the field, and at this point, how do we create this field of we would call heaven on earth?
Well, it's kind of fun just to step back for a second, because most people out here have actually experienced at some time they fell in love. And I would say their life was blah, 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 blah. And then the one day they meet somebody and they fall in love. And then about 24 hours later, their whole world changes. It goes from hell on earth to heaven on earth. Oh my goodness, like, I'm so in love, and the food is great and the music's great, and even the crummy job is okay. I go, there was a transformation. It only took 24 hours. I go, what does it represent? And the answer is, we started creating our lives with an intention. And I go, what does that mean? I go, let's step back and deal with quantum physics, the most valid science on the planet. There is no science with more truth in it than quantum physics. And I go, so what's relevant? And the answer in quantum physics is simply this: consciousness is creating our life experiences. If we change our consciousness, we change the character of our lives. And all of a sudden it says, wow, that's really great. So if consciousness is creating my life, then how come this life looks so crummy? Because that's not in my consciousness. I really want to have heaven on earth. What happened here? So here comes the crux of the problem. The mind is in control. As physicists say, the mind is creating our life experiences. But there are 2 minds, and that's the big problem people didn't recognize. There's a conscious mind, which is connected to your personal identity, your spirituality. The conscious mind is creative. And then there's a subconscious mind, which is like a hard drive in a computer. It's just got programs in it. There's nobody in the subconscious. It's just like a database. You push the button and the behavior works, And I go, so what's the difference? I say, well, for example, the brain is a computer. Yep. It is. It's a supercomputer, and it's got the characters of a computer. And I go, so why is it relevant? I say, you buy a brand new computer, take it home, plug it in, boot it up, and it boots up, and the screen lights up. And I say, great. Now I say, do something with your computer, make a drawing, a spreadsheet, whatever. And you go, no, I can't do that. I go, what do you mean? You got a brand new computer. I go, oh, first you have to put programs in the computer, and then you can use the computer programs to interface what you want to create. I go, oh. So I say, yes, the human brain is a computer. Last trimester of pregnancy can boot itself up. But the first 7 years of life, last trimester of pregnancy, first 7 years of life, the brain is designed to download programs. A child's brain is in a state of hypnosis. I go, why? How many rules does it take to be a member of a family and a community? Thousands. I say, you're an infant. What are you going to do? Read a book on how many rules I got to know? I go, no. All the brain has to do is just watch the parents, the siblings, the community, observe their behavior, download it. That's what happens in the first 7 years. And those become fundamental programs. By age 7, then the conscious creative brain kicks in, and then you can type on your computer and engage the program, create what you want. Now, here's the problem. The conscious creative mind, on average, is about 5% of the day controlling your life. In other words, 5% of your day, you're going toward wishes and desires. 95% of the day, science has recognized you are playing programs out of the subconscious database. And I go, so why is it relevant? Well, A, the programs you got from other people didn't actually emphasize what you wanted. That's their program that you downloaded. And so all of a sudden I go, well, when you download these programs, they're in the subconscious, below conscious. And that means what? 95% of the day, you are not going toward your wishes and desires. 95% of the day, you're just playing your programs. I go, so why is it relevant? Well, developmental psychologists recognize that up to 70% of the downloads that we got in that first 7 years are disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting beliefs. We have been disempowered. We believe we're victims. I go, that's a program, because the simple reality is we are creators. Everyone is a creator. And you say, well, if I'm a creator, then how did this mess show up? And I go, oh, sorry, you're only creating 5%. 95%, you're just taking a program you got from your community, your parents, and just playing those blindly during the day. And I go, why are you playing them? Answer is simple. The conscious mind can look at the body as a vehicle with a steering wheel. Conscious mind can drive us to our wishes and our desires. But the conscious mind can think. And you go, what does that mean? I go, when you're driving a vehicle, you're looking out the window and taking it, driving to where you want to go. But when the conscious mind is thinking, it's not looking out the window because a thought is inside. If I ask any one of you right now, tell me what you're doing on Saturday, and it's not written in front of you, in a moment's time of thinking, you say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I go, where did you get the information? Inside. What's the point? Well, when the conscious mind got the hands on the wheel, we're going toward wishes and desires. But when the conscious mind is thinking, the subconscious is autopilot. And then all of a sudden you start playing programs, but guess what? Subconscious, you don't see it. So let me close with a very important story. It's like this. I call it the story of Bill. I go, what does it mean? I say, well, you have a friend, Bill, and you know his behavior very, very well. And you know Bill's parent. And one day you see Bill has the same behavior as his parents. So you gotta tell Bill, you go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. And then I say, back away from Bill. I know what Bill's going to say. First thing he's saying, how can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. And everyone laughs when I tell the story because they're experienced. I said, that's the most profound story for all of us at this moment. I go, what does it mean? Well, everybody else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. Who's the one that doesn't see it? And I go, Bill. I say, well, how come Bill's not seeing it? Because Bill is not looking out his eyes when he's thinking, he's looking inside. So whatever behavior is coming up from the subconscious and is playing, it's Bill who doesn't see the behavior. I go, so why is that relevant? Because if he's got negative programs in there and 95% of the day he's playing from those programs, then he's not moving into the positive world. He's just repeating the negative programs. And I go, then conclusion, the most profound story of Bill is actually a profound story for every one of us because we are all Bill. And I go, so we are creators of our life. You look at your life, you go, that doesn't look like what I want. And I go, you're not creating from your conscious mind, you're just playing programs from your subconscious that you got from other people. I go, so why is it relevant? Because the evolution that we're facing is an evolution of consciousness. Meaning if you fully understand that your conscious mind is creative, then we can undo the subconscious programs of limitation and disempowerment. I go, why is that relevant? Because if you're starting to come from the positive view of the conscious mind and you got your conscious mind driving a vehicle, that's called the honeymoon. That's why your life was blah, blah, blah. Then you met somebody and the next period was honeymoon, heaven on earth. I go, what happened? I said, you stopped playing the program. Just look, you just stopped playing the damn program and what happened? Heaven on earth? I go, that's the message for all of us at this time. We've all been programmed. The programs are not supporting us. And in expressing these programs, we're sabotaging not just ourselves, but the entire planet and civilization. And so the wake-up call from Mother Nature is simple. Human behavior is really destroying the place. And if you want to survive, we have to get back into consciousness. And then once we stay in consciousness, or once we reprogram our subconscious, then we can create the life that we want and the planet that we want. And this is real important. This is why my brother Steve also talks about implementing this in a social, economical, world that we live in, not just the biology world on the inside, because the biology world is expressed on the outside. Stevie.
Well, this is why this need for conscious evolution right now is why we've created the Great Upwising, which is a 4-step program guaranteed to work 3 times faster than 12-step. And this is really going back to the Einstein quote that the field is the sole governing agency over the particle. And so much of what we're trying to do to fix problems are just that, fixing problems, or on the field of the problem. Newtonian, equal and opposite forces, rather than looking at the big picture and the big field. So in this Great Upwising, which I'll outline very briefly, the idea is to impact the field, not just out there, but the field in here. We need an intervention, which actually has to be an intervention. So the 4 steps: wake up, wise up, grow up, show up. Wake up to the illusion of separation. Wake up to the idea that we have, that we're all connected really, but through our culture and so-called civilization, we've created this separateness that we forget that we're connected. We've got a political system that's been functioning on divide and conquer. And then we wise up to the power of love. The antidote to divide and conquer is unite and prevail. Recognize that there is a coherent field of love. And Bruce was talking about that. I was talking to my wife, Trudy, about something we wrote in Spontaneous Evolution, that heaven is not a destination, it's a practice. And Trudy says, well, actually it's a choice, because heaven already exists. It's already there. That field of love is already there. We've just forgotten about it. And so choosing to be on that field of love rather than on the field of fear is very important. And then we grow up. We are the Creator's creation, created to create. And we grow up from, as Bruce would say, victims of our destiny. We grow up from children of God to adults of good, where we're actually able to bring heaven to earth through our actions, through our thoughts, through the way we are in the world. And we're going to be talking more about that. And finally, we show up on a new playing field. We're off the battlefield of the ego, who wants to be right. We're off the battlefield of fear, one against the other. And we're on the playing field of collaboration, cooperation, cultivation, and community, where we actually are able to implement this heaven on earth. Now, I know that sounds utopian. 2 things. First of all, the great philosopher inventor Bucky Fuller, about 50 or more years ago, wrote a book that talks about where we are right now. It's called Utopia or Oblivion. And what he was saying is that essentially, because of human endeavor, and Bruce mentioned how we are very important on the planet right now because of the impact that we're having. Because of that, our behavior, if we don't choose heaven, we're going to default to hell because of the totality of the impact that we have on the planet. Now, what we would call utopia, the cells in our body would call health. So instead of thinking about heaven on earth, let's think about how do we create this health and sanity on the planet. So when we break into these into the breakout groups, we're going to be talking about how we can actually bring heaven from the inside out, the love that we are, rather than looking at love and salvation from the outside. we're recognizing that we're actually bringers of that when we become the conscious creators of our own life, when we bring that power of love. And so we'll be talking about how we're already creating heaven on earth through what we're doing and how we can amplify that and multiply that. So at this point, I think we're going to have some questions from Diana, and then we'll go to the breakout groups.
Well, I'm so enwrapped here in everything you're saying. And of course, I'm seeing in the chat that some people are wondering how we do this. Can you give us some kind of a framework? Like we wake up in the morning and how do we step into upgrading our operating system?
I think that every one of us has access to a practice that allows us to connect with the spirit that's already there. Because of the society that we live in, we've learned to be hungry ghosts, where we're expecting something to come from the outside. And that's why there's so much greed. We call it the old needy greedy. People are needy, people are greedy, because they don't recognize the inner resource that we all have. So fundamentally, whether we believe in God or just believe in good, we actually have access through meditation, through Qigong, through yoga, through countless practices that have been liberated from secrecy. We have access to that. That's the beginning. Bruce?
Yeah, Steve, thank you. We were talking about programs, and this is really critical because I said that in our computer, our brain, we have a creative aspect, conscious mind, and a programmable subconscious. And the problem is that 95% of our life is coming from the program. And then there's a problem because I said, well, then what is your program? Because you were being programmed even before you were born. Last trimester, a fetus is already learning. And for the first 7 years. And I go, so what program did you get when you were in utero? Or what program did you get from 0 to 1? A whole year you got programmed. Oh, wait. What program did you get from 1 to 2? Oh, you start to realize you weren't there. Consciousness wasn't even working. So you have like, what is my program? And then I go, here's the cool part. 95% of your life is coming from the program. So I say, your life is a printout of your program. I go, what does that mean? I say, the things that you like that come into your life, they come into your life because you have programs to acknowledge that. More importantly, the things that you desire, wish for, the things that you want to be true in your life, and you struggle, you work hard, you put a lot of effort into it. I'm sweating over it. I'm going to make this. I'm making my life. I'm sweating over it. And I go, why are you working so hard? The answer inevitably is simple. And the answer is this: whatever that destination is, whether it's relationship, health, find job, whatever you wanted, and you can't get there, it's not because you can't get there. It's because those are programs that you have that do not support the end you're seeking. So I say, look at your life. The things you like that come in, you got programs to support them. But the things you want, struggle over, work hard for, the reason it's so hard is because the destination that you're looking for is not supported by your program. And so the significance then is very simple, and I'll try to summarize it in 1 minute if I can. And that is this: we want to rewrite the programs. I said you can see your life where the program is. Wherever you're struggling, that's a program you want to rewrite. And I said, well, how do you rewrite it? And I go, well, the most important thing is this, is that the subconscious is a hard drive. There's nobody in there. I go, why is it relevant? He said, how many times do we find ourselves talking to ourselves? Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Let's never do that again. And then all of a sudden it happens again. You go, I said, don't do that again. I go, well, who are you talking to? Oh, I'm talking to the subconscious. I go, first of all, there's nobody in there. So that's a waste of time right now. And I go, so how do you change it? And I say, there's 3 ways to change it. The first way you change it is that was the natural way you got a program. First 7 years of your life, your brain was in theta, which is hypnosis. So if you can do what is called self-hypnosis, putting earphones on at night with a program that you want to be true in your life, and you put it on every night, the moment your mind closes for the evening, the moment you fall asleep, you go from conscious into theta, which is record, subconscious. So with the earphones on, once you fall asleep, you don't hear what's on the tape or the program, but your subconscious is open. And that's why if you repeat this, you can download new programs with earphones on. Number 2, after age 7, you still made new programs. How'd you do it? Practice. You want to learn how to drive a car? Practice. You want to play an instrument? Practice. Repetition makes habit. So you want to make a new life? Practice. And I love it. New age saying, fake it till you make it. Pretend you got what you want and do it. And then I say, what's the last one? And the last one is the most wonderful. It's called energy psychology. It's a whole new breed of psychology that engages super learning. And I go, what the heck does that do? I say, you can download a new belief in minutes. But you have to get into a super learning state. And that's what these energy psychology practices have. Very simple on my website, brucelipton.com. Under resources, I got about 25 different versions of energy psychology where you can take a look at your life, say, I don't want this program, I want a new one, and in minutes, install a new program.
Oh boy, you really did give us something really practical. We can all go to your website and look at that. That's amazing. Bruce and Steve, how did you two even meet and get started on doing this together?
Well, let's see. A friend of ours, a mutual friend, had been trying to connect us for years. And sometime early in 2005, I believe, we were invited to spend, Trudy and I, there's Trudy up on the screen there.
Hey,
My wife Trudy and I
yeah.
were invited to spend a weekend with Bruce and his wife, Margaret. And as we were, there was something about it that we just started laughing right at the beginning. And Trudy and I looked at each other and said, what is it about these people? And then we realized, oh, they're happy. And they're so happy that, in fact, this is true, Bruce will confirm, that Tucker, the dog that lived next door, decided he wanted to live with Bruce and Margaret. That's how much fun they were having. The dog said, I want to live here. And so as Bruce and I started talking, we both realized that we had an interest in the founding of this country. The original title for the book was The American Evolution. And then we realized that this is a worldwide, if not intergalactic, conversation. So we expanded the title. What's your recollection, Bruce?
Well, it's exactly that. And how much laughing, as I said, you know, working with you and writing a book is like, we'd come up with an idea and then all of a sudden Steve would come up with some funny part and I'd start laughing. And then we realized we can't write all the jokey stuff into the book. We had to actually be serious sometimes about it. And it was really interesting to be with Steve and Trudy because collectively we enjoyed life together and we're healthy together. And that's the best part of it. I said, well, you know, how's your idea working out, Bruce? And I go, well, it's absolutely fabulous. I have no doctor, you know, and I'm an old guy, but I'm not that old, you know, 76 and still enjoying everything just like a kid.
Oh, that's the best thing. My husband always said, if you're not laughing, you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
And Voltaire said that God is a comedian playing before an audience who is afraid to laugh. I love that one. What's next for you two? And how do you, you know, what is next on your plate that you're going to be exploring or putting out there? We'd love to hear about that.
What's next? Well, of course, you know about God hearing our plans and all the laughing. One of the things I've been doing since the publication of Spontaneous Evolution is seeing how we can actually bring this to life in the real world. And I've been engaged with transpartisan politics, which is basically to transcend the partisan trans and recognize that we need to use the two impulses of progressive and conservative in a constructive way. So instead of dueling dualities, we actually have dynamic duo dance partners. So I just completed 3.5 years doing a radio show called Wiki Politiki, and now I'm segueing into a audio and video podcast called Front and Center, Writing Our New Story Together with Michael McSenthe. I believe Michael is on the call here in the audience. And Michael is from Southern California. His background is as a conservative. My background is as a progressive. And together we are looking to bring forth what philosopher Charles Eisenstein calls the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. That rather than being stuck on this battlefield of fighting one another and solving and arguing, we want to actually move on to a higher playing field where we collaborate to actually bring solutions and vision. The Bible says where there's no vision, people perish. And so we are at the effect of dystopian and negative visions now. And so part of bringing people together, as Michael and I will do from all sides, is to cultivate a vision that everybody, that most of us certainly would go, yeah, I want that, and then begin to look at the various ways of getting there and using our individual perspectives and background, not to fight one another, but to add to the conversation.
I was just going to talk about a couple of things that were in the chat from Patricia, and Rebecca also brought it up. And it's the idea about the heart and mind differential. And it's very important because the basic point is this: the mind is programs, and we learn things. And the heart reads energy. And I go, what's the difference? I go, well, when we took a course, I think it was called algebra, and you got a very big equation, and the idea was to reduce the size of the equation to the smallest version of it. And it may take 5 steps, and you start at the top and you reduce it, and then you reduce it and you reduce it. And I go, everything's great. You follow the, all the steps down and you get an answer. And I go, that's great. Now, only one problem. If I make an error in any of the steps on the way down, the answer is going to be wrong. So it basically says, are all my beliefs and knowledge of the world accurate? And I go, not really. And I go, if you try to come to a conclusion with only using your mind, then you're going to take the data that you have in your mind and apply it to assess what you're going to do. And I go, that's like reducing the equation. I go, yeah, but if one piece of data is wrong, then the conclusion is wrong. I say, well, what about the heart? And I say, the heart doesn't do the details. The heart is an energy reading. And the point about it is we are energy beings. The more energy we have, energy is life. The less energy we have, you go toward death. And I go, so why is it relevant? The heart doesn't do the step by step by step. It just basically says, what's the energy at the end? Is it more positive, or is it more, is it more negative? I go, so why is it relevant? Because it's not fraught with the problem of a misunderstanding and add it to the equation and then making a mistake. It just reads energy. So I talk to people, I say, you have to make an important decision in your life. Start with the analytical understanding of the mind, go through the details. But then I say, before you make that final decision, you go to your heart and ask the question to your heart. Is this what you want or not? Your heart will tell you. It'll go, ah. I go, okay, no. Or it goes, ah, yes. And I say, so don't leave off with the mind's assessment. Follow with the heart's assessment. It is more accurate because it just reads, are you going to get more life or less life based on whatever the question is?
Energy, Steve and Bruce, honestly, that was just a remarkable meeting. So moving, so motivating. And we are so incredibly grateful that you were here with us. So do either one of you want to say a final thing? And then yeah, go ahead.
I'll say one thing very quick. This is an example of a living, learning community, the exact kind of community of imaginal selves that's needed to bring this new realization forward. As Damien said when we were in the little chat room, we're already winning. And this is really, really very, very important to recognize that no matter what you see or read in the papers, this is life emerging. Thank you for being part of that.